everyone. So to start off with this I think it's safe to say this chapter pretty much puts a cap on the Foresta arc. Like it basically wraps. Basically, I think everything pretty much wrapped things up like pretty neatly in this, for the Foresta arc in this chapter, as every little thing within more or less was resolved. However, in typical Mashima fashion, he couldn't he couldn't leave well enough alone. He just had to do something, or just had that one little hook in order to keep us reading, which of course you're supposed to do anyway with the series, but it's like, yeah, he just had to throw in another curveball in this sense. In this case, we essentially learned that Laguna does actually have ulterior motives for joining the Eden Zero crew, and here's the thing. Here's the thing. With this reveal of Laguna having a goal, so to speak, like an actual goal outside of like an actual goal. This is definitely where things get interesting for me, because obviously the big question that needs to be asked in terms of this reveal about Laguna is, was Laguna lying about what he had told the others about in terms of just wanting to find a planet to take refuge on? And the answer to that, to me, is yes and no. I don't think he was necessarily lying about looking for a planet. However, I think he lied about looking for just some random place to call home. And I think at this point, it is fair to assume that whatever his goal is coincides with the idea that he's looking for a very specific planet. Now, as far as what that means for his role in the story going forward, I'm not 100% sure, but I do get the feeling that wherever this kind of leads, wherever Mashima goes with Laguna here, it is going to tie into our current predicament, and how just much like with Gilst and how that arc had led into the confrontation with Dragon Joe. I feel the chain of events on Foresta are going to put us in direct conflict with Nero and Shura, which is also going to tie into Prince Laguna's story as well. So yeah, I think as of right now, I've got a good feeling that whatever happens with whatever Mashima's got planned for the role that Laguna's gonna play going forward, it is gonna tie into like what's gonna happen with Poseidon, Nero, and Shura and all that, because obviously the big thing too that happened on Foresta is because our heroes had kind of gotten into direct confrontation with Poseidon, Nero's men. Obviously, he is going to retaliate in some form or fashion. So, yeah, like butting heads with Shura and Nero, it's pretty much inevitable. So, and I think, yeah, so it's just a matter of how Laguna's story is going to tie into that, and I'm curious as to what that'll lead to. But yeah, and another interesting thing about this chapter, I guess, is that the little girl our heroes met at the beginning of the Foresta arc is now on board the Eden Zero but the thing is, unlike with Laguna, where I have somewhat of a semblance of an idea as to where Mashima's taking him, I've generally got no idea that she's pretty much doing on board the ship, or what Mashima's going to even do with her. Like that's kind of one of the big question marks about this chapter for me. I got no idea what this girl's doing on the ship, or what he's planning to do with her. However, one thing I do like about the scene between Aruna and Witch is that it not only gives even more significance to just their whole conversation about death and grief and all that. It not only gives even more significance to Valkyrie's death, but the conversation in itself is honestly the most relatable in the sense where, as someone who's recently lost a very important family member, in a very important member of my family, I personally feel the conversation between Aruna and Witch dives into a very important lesson about life, which is when it comes to the death of a loved one, the death of a friend, the death of a family member, we all grieve in one way or another. We all grieve in what, it doesn't matter who we are, we all grieve in one way or another. And the thing is, when it comes to grief, there's kind of an unspoken truth where we where we pretty much never truly are ever move past grief, but it's how we remember the ones we've lost and how we live our lives with the memories of those loved ones that matters, because it's pretty much how we pretty much grow into how we pretty much grow, and how we take from that, how we absorb, and how we take lessons on how to live life from those from those deaths. So yeah, it's a very it's a very interesting thing where where even though it's a very simple scene, he was also just diving into a lot of interesting concepts about grief and death and all that. So yeah, it's a very somber but a very unique kind of way of looking at death, I think. Um, on the flip side to that, though, we also see Kleene having woken up and Kris being able to express something I'm sure he's had a rough time doing for the first time in a long time. Pure happiness and joy, like the look on his face in that moment of seeing Kleene just kind of like completely free of her horror, of her past, of her memories, all that shit. That was one of those times where it was just the look on his face. It was just pure joy, pure happiness for the first time in a long time. It's one of those things where if you look at Kris's journey, pretty much throughout the series, including up to this point, it really is an interesting story in the sense where Kris had pretty much chained himself to his obligations and purpose of helping Kleene. But in this very moment between seeing his sister free from her repressed memories and learning that Prince Mueller is now dead, thank God, but between these two events happening at the same time, all those burdens and responsibilities had all just kind of vanished, all kind of just like disappeared into nothing. And because of that, in this very moment, he felt like he and Kleene could not only start anew, but that he himself could truly feel happiness again, knowing that their slate has been wiped clean, and that they can try and start fresh. How they start fresh is something else, and is going to be another interesting thing entirely, because I don't know if they're going to do what they said they do and just part from the crew, or if they're going to stay. I don't know. I'm curious what that's going to look like. I assume they're going to part ways, but we'll just have to wait and see. I also like how learning that Drac and Joe, in a weird sort of twisted way, actually saved the Rutherford siblings kind of gives Weiss a little bit of a different perspective on his previous boss, which he had held such deep-seated hatred for. Like it gives Weiss a little bit of something to think about when in regards to who Drac and Joe was, I guess. And yeah, obviously the other thing to talk about with this chapter is that Zenolith pretty much reboots himself, which, again, going off what I said last episode about Majima possibly being a Star Wars fan, Zenolith's brief personality shift upon him like restoring himself was just pure Yoda, in the sense of starting out as this energetic goofball, then switching to super serious on a dime. But as far as the favor that Zenolith intends to ask Shiki for, I'm pretty sure it all has to do with Shiki learning a new method in order to utilize like his pretty much Satan gravity by probably tapping into the darkness like Zenolith had talked about before on Foresta. So we're probably heading into a training arc now with Shiki, but the way that Zenolith had stated that this is something only Shiki can do really made me thinking that whatever Zenolith is going to teach Shiki is probably something that he didn't even bother teaching Ziggy, or something about Satan gravity that the latter is not aware of. But either way, we definitely are heading into a trending arc, and I'm definitely curious as to where this is going to lead us. But yeah, guys, that's all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and list Crunchyroll. Death Knight of Anime, signing off. Later, guys.